one to the checkup. Baby, let me know what's up. Ooh, it's the Chris with the next. Hey, don't worry about the next. It's your boy Chris with the next with another episode of the X Zone. Alright, so I want to talk about this whole COVID-19 vaccine situation. But before I do that, please donate, subscribe, like, share, comment. If you want to donate to me, my Cash App is $, get X money 09, and my Venmo is on the edge of rich. Just spell it like that, on the edge of rich. The E is not shared, so just put on the edge of rich, like on the edge of glory. Just put on the edge of rich. Please, 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 donate if you want to keep this show going. You want to keep hearing the sound of my voice. I mean, you're going to hear it anyway, whether you donate or not. But, this is Christmas. This is trying times, I got a plant bill to pay off. It's $115. So whatever you can donate, donate. I got other people to help out, so please donate. Yes, so donate whatever you can, support the show. I'm a local artist, growing artist, and shoot, I could have got a free Christmas tree this year by doing the show, but I got shaded saying I got to do consistency is key. So you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. Consistency is key. I don't care if this show gets 3 views, 3 likes, whatever. Consistency is key. You're gonna get tired of hearing the sound of my voice. But yes, please donate. Shout outs to Floyd Decor, great artist. He got a new great song. Shout out to Lisa Or. He got a new video coming out. Support local artists. Support growing artists. And shout out to my boy Greasy from Lockdown 23-1. He is still in the pen. Like I said, weed is not legal in Virginia. So if you want to write him, go to smartjailmail.com. Put in Justin Beasley, Beesly, and his number is 34221. And yes, if you want to donate to him, you can just donate to me and I can give him the money. So my Venmo is on the edge of rich, and my Cash App is $ get X money 09. Ow. On my Cardi B tip. Anyway, so getting into the whole COVID-19 situation where we had to get the vaccine. As black people, as our black history is American history. And we've always been test dummies for a lot of things. Like the Tuskegee Airmen got injected with syphilis, but they was told they was getting the vaccine for syphilis. Yes, when you do your research, do your history, do your research. It's always important to learn. It's never boring to learn. Because I grew up in a damn, from the streets, in LA, you get the worst teachers. And sometimes you do get good teachers that will teach you some stuff. So, with me learning stuff after I got out of, I couldn't tell you what I learned after I got out of grade school, which is, grade school is pre-K through 12. So after the 5th grade, after I left elementary, I can't tell you what I learned. It was all a bunch of, mumbo jumbo, books written up on books from probably the 60s and 70s, with a lot of drawing on it. We don't get new books in the hood. That's why a lot of teachers will not let you write on them. Because that book has to last all the way from 20 years, 30 years, We don't get updated stuff. So it's always good to do research, learn. They're not going to teach a lot of stuff, especially about black history, because they don't want you to know all the evil stuff that we had to go through. And that's why I try to tell a lot of Latinos that's woke, a lot of people that's woke, because America does not have no real culture. everything is stolen and commodified. Shout out to my girl Lovely T, and shout out to the lady, the Native American who went on her show. You know, sometimes it's feel like you know so much information and you have to be like quiet about it. You know, some stuff you can just tell people, and some people get it, some people don't. And you know, I'm gonna use the sound of my voice and my knowledge to help others. Just like wigs and weaves did not start with black people. Wigs was always created since the dawn of time. They said Cleopatra wore one, but in the Victorian era, you had a lot of people that wore wigs and weaves. I believe that's why they scalped the Indians so they could make human hair wigs, wigs for you know, because you had a lot of wig makers back in the Victorian era, and Marie Antoinette, who was known as like the flyest bitch on the block, not to be messed up. But back in her era, she used to wear like really big, extravagant wigs. If she was still alive today, she could go to Atlanta, Georgia, and be in the hair shows. That's how fly her wigs was. And then she had them big dresses. Oh yeah, they chopped my bitch head off just for being fly. She got in debt. But if she was living today, she could just get loans and anything. Or she could be on Instagram showing her booty. But back then it was just different times. And as black people, I think we just, you know, had to assimilate it. I guess specifically black women just assimilated. Just like the word nigger, you know, we just turned it in the 60s, we just turned it to nigger. And Richard Pryor is one of the first black folks to use, you know, the N word on a TV. And so just like with wigs, it was like, ooh, shit, bitch, let me get a red wig. Ooh, shit, bitch, let me get a fly lace front. That's why we know for wigs and weaves. Just throwing a little information out there for you. But going back to the COVID-19 situation, in the 90s, like they said, if you do your research about AIDS too, not a natural disease, because as like after slavery, we was deemed nuisance, a burden, you know, we was useless. But still, after that, you know, we still got stuff stolen from us. We try to make our own way, try to grow our own stuff, you know, got kicked out of houses, you know, burned, shot down, beat, raped, you name it. That's 400 years, even after slavery. And, you know, slavery, because after slavery really never ended. It's just commodified in different ways because um, Thomas Jefferson was the end all be all. Of course, he got popped, but he was the end all be all because he was the president. And illegal slavery ended. So you can't steal somebody from their country and then just, you know, bring them over here and use them and beat them and rape them and all that. So that's illegal slavery ended. And it says in the Constitution, all forms of slavery is illegal except when you go to the institution of crime. And we all know that jail and prison, that's the institution of crime. It ain't no institution. Now, if you do the crime, you do the time. But of course, in America, and this is not an anti-American video uh, uh, podcast, you know, but we do have our issues in America. So I'm African American, so I'm going to talk about our issues. Yeah, and our issues that sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you can go to jail for fitting a description, or you can go to jail for 20 years for smoking some weed. The thing about it is, with weed, see, a lot of things, it's a lot of commercialism here. Every group, every tribe, every sexual orientation, everybody knows that there's a lot of commercialism. And, you know, just like with the LGBT people, you know, in the 90s, it was like, ooh. And then you just had like RuPaul out, where only one person, you know, one person at a time can come out. Like Ellen DeGeneres, when she came out, she got blacklisted for 3 years because already Rosie O'Donnell was out. But then when Ellen DeGeneres came out, they wanted her to be America's sweetheart, sort of like a Julia Roberts. And they already had like roles lined up for her, and I guess she messed it up. But she bounced back after 3 years, and it was like whatever's. But now it's just like rainbow everything, rainbow soup, rainbow pancakes, And a lot of LGBT people's like, I ain't eat no rainbow soup, no rainbow spaghetti. It ain't that serious. I mean, it's serious, but it ain't that serious. So that's commercialism. Just for a little tea for y'all. Shout out to Lovely Tea. And so going back to what I was saying about slavery, I mean not slavery, but with weed. I guess weed is sellable now, so it's just like a hot commodity. Like I was saying about Grizzly from Lockdown 23 and Run. Shout out to Jonathan Death's channel. Go check him out on YouTube. And you could type in Lockdown 23 and Run and type Grizzly, and you'll see who I'm talking about. But weed is now commercialized because when niggas was on the block in the '90s smoking weed, drinking gin and juice, and eating a Twinkie, it was illegal, and they went to jail for 20 years. But then all of a sudden, when some of these white folks when it start to sell, and now what I was seeing on LA's Look, that show that comes on after SNL, LA's First Look, I saw them. They had a wine tasting. No, it wasn't wine tasting. It was a refinery where they smoke weed because they call them herbs because it is herbs. So they're smoking weed. You get to eat fish and drink some wine on the side. That was the same thing the niggas was doing on the block, and they got arrested for it. So everybody that's in jail, that went to jail for selling weed, should get out, and I believe that firmly. And they should come up with their own, gin and juice bar. So that's the exact same thing they was doing on the block. But now it's about commercialism. Just like in the 90s when we was growing up. And we had those drug ad commercials where this is your brain. And the woman would have a pan. And then she would smack the egg on the pan. And this is your brain on drugs. And then we had, the one I remember is Crackhead Bob from a Howard Stern show. Before he got, before he became Crackhead Bob on the Howard Stern show, he was on that drug ad council commercial. And you could look it up on YouTube. And he could barely say his ABCs. He would say A, B, C, D, E, F. A grown man couldn't even say his own ABCs because the drugs created a chemical imbalance in his mind. Sort of like that girl from the LL Cool J show from the '90s, In the House, Mia Campbell. It creates a drug chemical imbalance for some people that's using these hardcore drugs. I know a person from Eli Theater. I'm not gonna say their names, but yeah, I've seen it in person too. And so yeah, Crackhead Bob. And then I remember there was like another commercial where a girl was spinning around in circles and she got dizzy. Some black girl. Yeah, but now fast forward, we got all these rappers rapping about drugs and hardcore drugs and alcohol and Molly and just I don't really listen to none of these new rappers, but I see them on the Instagram. I see them on maybe websites like Hollywood Unlocked and stuff. They be having big Molly cakes and all of this lean and all of that, and it's just like, when did it become cool to sell drugs? I'm trying to figure out. Or when did it become cool to be a hoe? Everything's sounding the same. I'm not saying you can't be sexual, but I just feel like everything is just hoe culture now. Yeah, and we can't blame my girl Lil Kim and Foxy Brown for that. Um, but like I said, Lil Kim is an individual. Foxy Brown, they're individuals. But just like the corporates, the record labels, when they get their hands on the formula, then that's how everybody has to be. And there has been no real change since then. Young M.A., I guess, was a change. But again, she's a lesbian. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that isn't really too much of a difference. People I like to listen to that's underground, Amber London. Shout out to Amber London, the rapper, and other people like that. But a lot of these rappers nowadays, I saw some chick. She was copying Nicki Minaj's Anaconda with a little bit of WAP some video. It was something. It's just all generic now. All sounding the same. Nobody really pinning nothing no more. You have everything to go into a beat, and then they just rapping some, some stupid lyrics, mumble rap. I hate mumble rap. If I can't hear what you're saying, I don't need to listen to you, because I know when I hit puberty, you know how you can say stuff under your breath, but once I hit puberty, my voice started sounding like this, so I would say stuff, and people would be like, "What? Speak up." So mumble rap is not for me. It took me a long time to even, learn how to train and trick my voice. Just like a lot of people that have accents, and they have to kind of like change their voice. So then too, mumble rap back in the day, you would have got laughed off the stage with that. Because being a rapper nowadays is not being a rapper back then. Back then, you had to start underground. Then you had to do rap battles, sort of like Eminem from 8 Mile, just to give you a visual picture. And then once you got enough money from that, once you was deemed the best by the hood, then you created a demo. Then when you created a demo, you had to run the streets of Hollywood or wherever you from to get people to fuck with you. Then after that, once you got a record label, a record, then you had to go in front of the board before you got signed and rap in front of 20 people just to see if you're a viable product, if they want to spend all their money on you. So a lot of things, when they lowered the bar for stuff, they lowered the bar in a very bad way, because we don't have people penning anything anymore. It's starting to show. And a lot of the stuff is being, infiltrated probably by the government, because it's just like, I feel like we're going back into the 90s whole shooting gangster rap. Because when they got their hands on gangster rap, then it's when it became pop, pop, bang, bang. And even Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony, that's why he got out the industry, because he said that they got an open secret letter, saying that everybody from that record label saying that if you rap about anything political anymore, that you will be terminated. Everything has to be about violence, sex, because sex sells, violence and death. Get into violence, like get into it, like what you gonna do to the person if they do something to you, like what you gonna do. And this is how a lot of people got ushered to the graveyard or ushered into jail. So, that's just, me rambling on about, history, with black history, and real things in general. But as for the vaccine, going back to AIDS, no, we won't be taking it. As black people, we shouldn't take it. Anybody shouldn't really be taking it. Am I a medical doctor? No. Am I saying anybody of color is going to go out and do it? Yeah, they probably gonna go do it. But in general, that's just my take on it. I'm just not going to trust it. We know it has COVID in there. History always has a way of repeating itself. If we don't know our history, we won't really know where we're going to. Of course, the future is different, but when you live in America, which is a great, you know, country, but we have our own problems, everything has a way of repeating itself. And that COVID, yeah, we're not doing that. And then I heard they trying to bribe people $250 to take it. So why are you bribing people to take it? They're supposed to help us. Yeah, no. Big pharma, no. Not doing it. You can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. Like I said, do your history, do your research. You don't have to take my word for it. Just do your research. A lot of people got smartphones and is dumb as hell. They're already talking about 2021. It's going to be a second wave. It's like, oh my God. It doesn't seem like it's going to get any better, but yeah, keep your prayers up. Actually know the words of the Bible and read the Bible. And I'm not talking about white Jesus. I'm talking about the actual Bible, not that idol. You actually know prayers. And don't just be praying to God for things. I mean, you can do that, but also pray for Him for life. That's my vaccine. And Because you can't pray to God if you're racist. Like, oh, I pray to God, but I hate black people. I don't hate Mexicans, or I hate anybody. You can't do that. You don't know the word of the Lord. I see people do all types of stupid crap using God. You can't use him for that. But anyways, that's my 2 cents. Anything else you want me to talk about? I'll be doing a lot more videos, staying consistent. Because consistency is key. And don't let anybody take you off your rocker, off your platform. And always keep moving to the top. Don't be controlled by the past, people, or memories. Like Madonna said in Holiday, forget about the bad times, remember the good times. Remember the good times, forget about the bad times. If we treated like life like a holiday, it would be so right. If you got some fake niggas you need to shake like a cheesy pizza, do that. Family members, you got to exile, do that. Like Yana Van Sant said, you know, I'm not punishing you. I'm just protecting me. Always protect yourself. Always, you know, God first, love yourself, and then love others. And that's the order it's supposed to come in. Like Janet Jackson said in the movie, Why Did I Get Married? At the end, she said that. So, yes, the consistency is key. You'll be seeing a lot more of me, of course, online, of course, doing these podcasts, whatever comes to mind. Like I said, I'll be doing more videos about, once I get my situation and stuff situated. Doing videos, and just doing more stuff, shouting out people, doing, like music has never been heard of before. Artists like good music, good high vibration music, stuff that artists you probably never heard of in the 90s. There's a lot of good talent. Some, probably didn't have a big push. Some probably still here, some probably still gone. But the stuff that I just listened to on my iPod. So the reason why I say donate to the Cash app, because I will be taking off the listener support where you can subscribe for $4.99 a month, $9.99 a month. I'll take it off because I can't play music with having in the background and having that on. So the Cash App is just better anyways, If you want to, you don't really need to subscribe. But you can subscribe, but just hit the Cash App better. Just donate like that. So my Cash App is $GetXMoney09. And my Venmo is On the Edge of Rich. Until then, this has been your boy Chris with an X with another episode of the X Zone. Peace.